Ever wonder why you've only got one option for your water company? Or how a brand new life-saving drug can cost an absolute fortune? Well, the answer usually boils down to just one word: monopoly. It's a concept that, believe it or not, shapes prices and choices in our lives every single day. So, let's get into it.
You know, when we talk about market power these days, our minds almost always jump to the big tech companies. I mean, firms like Google are so much a part of our lives, we've literally turned their names into verbs. They're really the modern face of market dominance.
And that really gets us to the big question we're tackling here. Are these massive companies monopolies in the traditional sense of the word? And if they are, is their power something that we as consumers should actually be worried about?
Okay, to answer that, we first have to understand the rules of the game. So let's kick things off by defining what a monopoly even is and what keeps it so powerful.
All right, here's the official definition, but let's break it down. It's got three key ingredients. First, just one seller. Second, they're selling something pretty unique. There are no good alternatives. And third, this is the most important part. There's some kind of barrier, like a giant wall, that keeps any competition from getting in.
So what do these walls look like? Well, they usually come in three main flavors, and each one creates its own special kind of monopoly power.
So a natural barrier is when it's just way cheaper for one company to do the whole job, like running water pipes to every single house in a city. An ownership barrier is pretty simple. One company owns something essential, like how De Beers used to control the diamond market. And then you have a legal barrier, which is when the government itself gives one company exclusive rights, like a patent on a new medication that lasts for 20 years.
Okay, so now we know what a monopoly is, let's take a look at their playbook. How do they actually use all that power to figure out how much to make and, maybe more importantly, what price to stick on the tag? This is where you can really see a monopoly's power at work. See, to sell one more unit, they can't just give a discount to the new customer, they have to lower the price for everybody. If you look at the table, even though that third haircut sells for $14, the total money coming in only goes up by 10. That $10, that's the marginal revenue, and that is the number a monopoly really cares about.
And that leads us to the golden rule for any monopoly. They're always asking one simple question. If I make one more of these, will the extra money I get be more than what it cost me to make it? And they'll keep doing that right up until the point where the extra revenue equals the extra cost. That's their profit sweet spot.
And this graph shows that rule perfectly. A monopoly finds that sweet spot, that ideal quantity, right where the marginal revenue and marginal cost lines cross. But, and this is the key move, they don't set their price there. Oh no. They look straight up from that point to the demand curve to find the absolute highest price people are willing to pay for that quantity, and that's how they squeeze out the most profit.
So, this is the fundamental difference, right? In a truly competitive market, prices get pushed down close to the actual cost of making the item. But a monopoly? It has the power to set its price way higher than its marginal cost. And what's the result? They make less stuff and charge us more for it.
So what does all of this mean for us, for a society? Well, this is where a monopoly's power really starts to have a wider impact, and it's why economists tend to get a little nervous about them.
I mean, this side-by-side comparison says it all. On the left, with competition, you get a lower price, more stuff gets made, and there's a lot of value shared by everyone. But on the right, under a monopoly, they cut back production, jack up the price, and that gray triangle of value, it just disappears.
That gray area actually has a name. It's called deadweight loss. Think of it as all the value from deals that should have happened, where someone was willing to pay more than the cost to produce, but didn't, all because of the monopoly's high price. It's a total loss for society. It doesn't even go to the monopoly. It just vanishes into thin air. But wait, the story's not over. Monopolies can get even smarter in their hunt for profits. They can start charging different people different prices for the exact same product. This clever strategy is called price discrimination.
You see this all the time, right? The reason students and seniors get a discount at the movies isn't just because the theater is being nice. It's because the theater has figured out that, as a group, they're probably less willing or able to pay the full price. By offering a discount, they sell a ticket they otherwise wouldn't have. It's all business.
And airlines, they are absolute masters of this game. That business traveler who has to fly tomorrow, they'll pay a fortune. A family planning a vacation 3 months out, not so much. That whole Saturday night stay rule was invented specifically to separate these two groups and charge each one the absolute maximum they're willing to shell out.
Disney is another master, but they do it a bit differently. By the unit, or in this case, by the day. They know your excitement, your willingness to pay is at its peak for that first day. But by day 5, it's gone down the lot. So what do? They slash the price for those extra days, making sure they capture every last dollar you're willing to spend.
So with these high prices and this dead weight loss, it's really no surprise that governments often decide to step in and regulate monopolies, especially those natural monopolies like our utility companies.
But trying to regulate them is not easy. This graph really shows the tough spot regulators are in. If they force the monopoly to set the most efficient price, where price equals marginal cost, the company would actually lose money because its fixed costs are so high. So the usual compromise is something called average cost pricing, which lets the company break even. It's a constant balancing act between keeping these essential services affordable and keeping the companies themselves in business.
Okay, let's bring it all the way back to where we started, the tech giants. Now that we know all this, how should we be thinking about a company like Google? Is it really an abusive monopoly, or is it a rewarded innovator?
Now this slide offers a really interesting counter-argument. It suggests that Google didn't just conquer an existing market. Instead, its innovation with something like AdWords actually created a brand new, much bigger market. As you can see from the graph, this created a massive amount of new value, and Google was just in the perfect spot to capture a big piece of that pie as profit. And here's Google's defense, in their own words. They're basically arguing that their dominance isn't protected by some wall. Instead, it's something they earn every single day by just having a better product. In their view, the competition is always, and I quote, one click away.
So this leaves us with a really challenging final thought. The line between a company that's unfairly crushing a market and one that's simply earning its dominance by creating something amazing through innovation, well, that line can be pretty blurry. And figuring out when a powerful company crosses it is honestly one of the biggest economic questions of our time.